All right, welcome everyone. This is the second episode of Fandom Geek Culture. Thank y'all for tuning in. We are trying our best to make this a popular and fun, very much podcast. We are the hosts. I am Chipmunk. This is Phantaki.
Hello, hello, everybody.
Check out our individual channels in the descriptions below. We're going to have that so y'all can check out the channels to see more videos and everything from us. But we're going to be trying to do episodes each week. So once we do have the time set, we'll show y'all what the times and stuff are for our videos. That way y'all can tune in every time of what day and everything. So we'll try to keep y'all posted. But thank y'all for tuning in. Today's discussion, we are going to be talking about directors and if it is all right for them to have bad films. The discussion is brought up due to a situation that happened with Phantaki on X. He had a discussion over Electric State with the Russo Brothers, and the Russo Brothers is going to be our first directors we're going to talk about. So the Russo Brothers, I guess Electric State didn't do well. What you think about Electric State?
I had fun with it, honestly. I think going into it, just knowing part of it, I guess, was knowing the cast that I was going to see in this film. I'm here because half the cast is voice acting because of the robots. But I enjoyed this. I don't know. I forget who. I think it's Chris Pratt. That's who it is. I'm not always a Chris Pratt fan, honestly, and not even a Millie Bobby Brown fan all the time either. But this was the one time I actually really didn't mind in seeing two people who get a lot of backlash online, honestly, for whatever they appear in, actually do something that I actually enjoyed. People didn't really like this. I heard people thought this was a very just unfunny film that's just full of just pointless storytelling, pretty much. But I would disagree full on. This is based off a book, from what I hear, what the movie was, and I hear that they didn't really adapt it well. They really, what I think the Russo Brothers tried to do was try to adapt a lot of the film to real life modern things in our world versus whatever was going on in the book, but trying to still keep something from the book in that element.
Definitely agree, because I did read some of the book. I didn't finish it, but I did read before I had to return it back to the library. But yeah, it's definitely some things that they did leave out that I think were really big when it came to the book, and I think that's probably why people were upset. And I was like, I don't think you should just judge that over the movie itself, just how they were trying to portray it. But yeah, what was the attack that they believe the Russo brothers are not good directors, and then why they're directing the Avengers and stuff like that. That's what I think the person that stated.
Well, there's so much things to where the Russo brothers joined Marvel during Marvel's second phase, during Captain America: The Winter Soldier. They were helmed as the directors all the way in 2014. And ever since then, when it came to really any project that dealt with Captain America, which would be on to Civil War and then Infinity War, Endgame, and then they slipped out. But they've always been in the circle of Marvel. They never had fully left Marvel in a way since Endgame. But they've directed so many well-acclaimed Marvel films, and people praise The Winter Soldier as the best Marvel film ever made. Mm-hmm. First of all, I don't know how that doesn't say something to people when they decide to make something that's not Marvel related. I think The Electric State was, their first film after doing Endgame. If I'm not, it's their second, but it's one of the very few films that they did after Endgame. And people just ripped it apart just because I guess they're not following the source, the actual material or whatever. But they made it a cinematic film. This is a film that really could have been theatrical. It really could have, instead of its Netflix wide release. But it was really good in how it looked. I don't really know too much why people were hating on this for the real their reasons. People always have their own personal reasons when they're watching. This being, like I said, the first film after Endgame they possibly made, it got torn to shreds. Rotten Tomatoes, were IMDb, wherever, they shredded the film. And because of that, people are like, oh, they started fearing, especially after them already being announced as directors for Doomsday and Secret Wars. People start getting scared. They're like, oh no, they made a crap film. Like, why would Marvel hire them again? Well, first of all, they did 4 films for Marvel that are successful. 2 of them being within the top 10 highest grossing films of all time list, you know. But and I don't know, maybe the Electric State, a lot of things had to do with it being released on Netflix. That could have been a good play in some things for it being going to streaming. Maybe it be going to streaming made people think the Russos weren't cinematic, like big screen directors anymore. They're just been pushed to the streaming services. I don't know. I thought the Electric State did well, honestly. It's just a fun, random, wacky film that's just a sci-fi apocalyptic story. But people did not like it. And I don't know, just they're going back to doing their Avengers movies. Now they're already doing Doomsday and everything. Like the post-credit scene in Thunderbolts and in Fantastic Four First Steps, those post-credit scenes were directed by the Russo brothers. So they've been working on this film for a while now. And I don't know, one film gets people scared if it does bad. Like, I don't know. Like, it didn't even do truly bad. I don't even know what the audience scores are on these films versus what the critics are saying. The critics are the ones who for sure tore it well apart. But audiences, I don't know if they're really hating this film that they did for Netflix. But they're the same people who are praising the Marvel movies that they just adore.
And it shouldn't be to where we're attacking the directors and stuff when it, over just one movie. And we go, oh, they're not going to do a good job because this one movie did horrible. Just forget about all the other stuff that they did. We're going to negate that. But, we're going to hone in on this one movie that we all, for some reason, didn't like. We say, we're all horrible directors because of this one movie.
Yeah, when Avengers Doomsday comes out, it's going to be the same people who have been watching the Russo brothers. Like, I honestly don't know what they've been doing before The Winter Soldier, but ever since then, they've been helmed very well people. Even if their directing style isn't normal, from what I hear in certain interviews and just how they keep info and stuff. But I don't know. It's one bad film is now people are getting so scared, and now people don't want. There's a 50-50 side of people don't want them back in Marvel, saying that they ruined Marvel, even though there's the other 50 who are the ones that like Endgame is like the best film also of all time or something. And it's something where when Doomsday comes out, it's still going to be a 50-50 on how people are going to trust them. Because now there's going to be, if Doomsday fails somehow, I don't know if it will. I don't think it will. But if that does fail, people are going to, it's going to be a second mark, like a strike on them. And I don't know, like Secret Wars, these next 2 films are very interesting. My opinion is that I think they're possibly rushing these next 2 Avenger films too quickly, because we still, for these type of events that we're getting, I think we need a bit more storytelling beforehand.
A good build up to it.
Yeah. But I don't know. People are too quick to be hating on the Russo brothers for just one film that didn't do well on streaming versus something that went theatrical.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's people's ideals of what directors and stuff do or what they're hired and stuff for sometimes. Because sometimes they're hired to just do a film and they're under the control of the production company. So they're just doing what they want them to do. And then there's some directors who do have some leeway to tell the stories and stuff the way they want to tell it, how they want to tell it. And
which
that's
is
always
good for
okay. And that's always a major factor when it comes to if they're able to have a good film sometimes. But even when they have control and the film doesn't do well, it still shouldn't negate anything about what their work is, because we don't usually say it with any other directors like um, Martin Scorsese. He has had some bad films. Well, not rated so well films. Like New York, New York wasn't rated the best, but
Okay.
he everyone still knows his line of work. So many good
Yeah.
films. Tim Burton is another one. While I was talking to a friend of mine, he was talking about, name one bad Tim Burton movie, because it was the near the time of Wednesday coming out, and we was like,
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. Hopefully Wednesday would be good. He was like, I have to worry. Name any Tim Burton movie that didn't do well. And I was like, I couldn't think of it at the moment because I couldn't think of what films at the moment he does, but he has made some questionable and bad films. Some of those is Dumbo. I didn't typically like Dumbo, but that didn't
That one,
negate me
I
from.
saw that in theaters.
I was like, it didn't do the job for me as far as the movie goes, but I still trust Tim Burton to come up with a good concept and good story and stuff like that when it comes to other films. This one, I just felt like he probably didn't have that much control over it to really making it home his own, because it didn't even feel like a Tim Burton movie to me when it came to Dumbo. So I was like, that probably was the studio's decision of how he created. Because again, sometimes the studio has more control over what you're doing than you have control, and that's a big factor. And studios tend to get it wrong.
Yeah.
When it comes to creative, because they're not as creative as the directors are when it's actually their choice. Steven Spielberg had some not so rated well movies. Was it 1941 in Hook didn't do well? That
Okay,
is.
yeah. Hook was a 50-50 on people just because of how they were making a new type of Peter Pan story that was like a sequel in a way, but its own thing.
Which I was like, Hook wasn't all that crazy bad. I actually enjoyed Hook as far as just entertainment goes. I understand why people rated it horribly, but I was like, it was still entertaining to me. I think they had a lot of good elements that I thought was entertaining, but definitely wasn't the best as far as just a lot of different elements goes. But that doesn't knock anybody from saying, "Hey, Steven Spielberg, you suck." I was like, imagine that. Like, imagine people's like, you're a horrible director now because of the Hook film that you came out with, or 1941.
That was crazy. Yeah. I'll say with Steven, like I think he got his most success when Jurassic Park did come out. Like that's when he got his most acclaim. And then after that, it's kind of like Endgame or like movies. If it's not up to that level of how that person makes the film, any film that comes after whatever isn't going to be great. Maybe like Electric State again. Like the new film after Endgame that they create is something that people were expecting. It's just something else that would be in a style maybe towards Endgame for all we know.
Mm-hmm. It's just those moments, and it always takes time, I think, when it comes to trying to redevelop yourself, because I think that's because most of those films were at the beginning of their careers when they weren't doing so well, and they just had to figure out exactly what they were going to do. But now he's praised as one of the best directors you can even find. One that had made great movies, but then started kind of making some that people didn't like. M. Night Shyamalan.
Yep.
I still haven't heard anyone say that he's a horrible director now because of the movies he's been coming out with.
Old and Knock at the Cabin and Trapped.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much those are the three films lately, because before them, the film, I think it was what I read, he was doing good throughout pretty much the 2000s. And then when he came out with The Happening, or there's a couple maybe other films sprinkled in there.
Water?
The Lady in the Water might have been one of them too, but that's one of those 50-50. I don't know how that did. The copy I bought lay in the water. It looks perfect, but you put it in and it won't read. Yeah, it's sad. But there's been a few films that just sprinkled in the early, like the 2000 between like 2010. But I remember when 2008 The Happening comes out. That was the film that pretty much set like M. Night Shyamalan's career to pretty much died there in a way. But then he came out. I'm pretty sure he came out with, what was it? Oh, what really then killed him was after like a couple years later, he created a little sci-fi film with a man we all know, Will Smith, After Earth.
Oh yeah, After Earth. Yeah.
So he tried to do something different. He decided to step into the sci-fi genre full on.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't do well at all for him and his career. And after that, he didn't really do too much, I'm pretty sure. Then I remember what really set his career off in the 2010 to 2020 era. Blumhouse decided to start working with him. The first film he did with Blumhouse was a found footage film called The Visit.
Yeah. One with the elderly
that
parents.
Film revived him as a director. It brought him back. And then Blumhouse decided to work with him again, doing Split. And that was a success because of it being a brand new story. But then, plot twist at the end, it's connected to something, a bigger universe of movies. And then Glass comes out. That made people divisive again on his career. And that film was not terrible, but it wasn't good type of thing. It became a 50-50 in it's I you know it's all good. And after that, that was his trilogy. He finished what he was doing with those characters, and then he stopped working with Blumhouse, but he was still working with Universal. And that's where old Knock at the Cabin and Trap came from, Universal. So maybe he has a bad look with Universal now somehow, or it's just whoever is writing his scripts, if it's not him fully. Just he's had a bad track record currently with all these new things he's been making. And I don't think I've heard of anything new lately since he did Trap.
I haven't heard anything either, which is interesting. Because usually it sounded like he was going to make constant film after film.
Yep.
Because that's what it seemed like. Because he did Old, and then he did Cabin in the Woods, and then Trap, which were good concepts. I was like, the concepts for these stories were amazing. It's just, it did
the execution.
Yeah, it just did not pan out well for him, and yeah, it's sad. But they're really strong concepts with great cast members. So he had great cast in all the films, I believe. I think the only ones that they typically jarred on him for was the one with his daughter on Trap. His daughter playing the pop star.
Yeah, that was an interesting one from what I hear. Well, because it's interesting because that same year, like 2 months apart, he and his daughter did his oldest daughter, because I think it's two separate daughters or whoever it is. But his oldest daughter, we're going to say, is the one that appeared in Trap. And then his other daughter did a directorial debut doing The Watchers, which M. Night Shyamalan produced.
Mm-hmm.
He helped fund his daughter's movie and was a bit, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was on set of Watchers helping her. So pretty much he was maybe kind of like a co-director on that film in a way, but, not credited like that. Because, it's the daughter. But that film didn't do well either. And maybe it was because of M. Night Shyamalan helping his daughter out, for all we know, not letting her kind of just take full reign.
So it's like, do we call M. Night Shyamalan a bad director now, or do we still praise him for his body of work that actually did well, like Signs?
Exactly. That's the thing. It's like, I don't think he's a bad director. I think he just has a bad execution of how he goes about his plans. like, I don't know how to word that into his work as a director, really, but he makes great concepts. All his films have all been great concepts, but it's always been the execution of that film, if it does good or bad.
It actually looks like he does have some stuff in development right now. Labor of Love
I have not heard of
is.
that one.
I have not heard that either. Because Labor of Love, there's an untitled project as well,
Okay,
and then Remain supposed to come out in 2026.
Romaine. That sounds
He
like
wrote
something
that.
more like I listen to.
Right?
Are they all movies from it?
Yeah,
Or
all his movies that he's directing, he wrote them as well.
okay,
But yeah, he's definitely a great writer. He's producing these, well, of course he's producing, but yeah. But it's like he's a great writer. You can tell it's like these stories and concepts are really, really good. It's just the execution, like you said, were not all the way there when it comes to, especially when it came to. I feel like when it came to Old, I feel like Old could have had been a really, really good film. It's just, it just wasn't all the way connecting. But
yeah. I'll say, yeah, with him, it's like all for his last films, like ever since he was doing The Visit with just in 2015, I think is when that came out. That's Blumhouse, if I'm not mistaken. Also, all his films ever since then have all been under Universal. So I don't know. There could be a possible reason, maybe some studio interference could be an excuse, or just somehow so something that's never been too brought up in maybe his film work is maybe it's because he is a guy who is very much director, producer, writer. He's a person who does it all. He even acts. He's in his films. He's the Stan Lee of his own films. Well, all we know, the only thing we don't know for certain ever is studio interference all the time.
mhm.
And all his films, ever since The Visit, have all been under Universal or Blumhouse. And Blumhouse works with whatever studio, really. It's just most of their films have come out from Universal.
Mhm.
So I don't know. M. Night Shyamalan, like I said, I don't think he's a bad director. I definitely there's something in play, just the execution of how the films go. Somewhere maybe in the post production, I'm going to guess, is where a lot of things starts to go bad.
Right. That's usually when where stuff happens. It's usually post production decisions, last minute decisions, changes. Um, Studios and stuff didn't like how everything was looking. They don't like how it feels, or they don't want to help with certain things, and they tell you to go a certain route. The one that comes into mind is for the thing. Not
Yeah, I
that I
was saying
thought.
I can't just one movie. I think of both films as just one long 2-part thing.
The one that
That's how
came
I view
out
it.
not the craziest long time ago. The one that's like two
The pre the
thousands. Yeah. That one,
new
the
part one.
director, right? The director was wanting to use like practical effects and wanted to do all this other stuff, and they were denied it. They were denied doing all this stuff for the film that they wanted to do. The studio was like, "No, do it this way. No, you're gonna have to do
Mhm.
it this way. You're gonna have to use CGI. Use CGI. It's cheaper." Blah blah. They tried to defend it at first in interviews for like the DVDs and set stuff. They were talking about, oh, we're gonna just use both CGI because it was just decided. But afterwards in interviews, it's when the stuff really came out. I was wanting to do it this
Mhm.
way. Studio didn't want to do it this way. So it's like it's those things that do happen behind the scenes we don't usually know is happening and stuff like that. How much pushback directors get when they try to make or do certain films, especially if they're hired to do a certain film. They
Yeah.
definitely have a lot less power when it comes to everything. And that's always why it's scary to see directors drop from films and someone else comes and tries to pick it up right after them. It's just like, do you have a
Yep.
better shot?
Well, that's a lot of the current state with Marvel movies and everything. And
Mm-hmm.
even if they don't get dropped from the movie, they're still credited, but it's studio takeover
Mm-hmm.
at that point. The biggest example I was thinking just for this video, probably the only name that I can think of is Nia DaCosta. She directed the latest Candyman movie, The Marvels, from Marvel, and she is coming out in like less than a year. She is doing 28 years later for The Bone Temple. This woman is a person who I don't think has a bad movie, but The Marvels, when that came out from Marvel, people started hating on her because of just how it went. Halfway through production, from what I read a long time ago, that it's kind of hard to just find, I think, some articles on it. But I remember hearing how Nia DaCosta, like Disney and Marvel, they did a total takeover on her film. Mm-hmm. The movie that we got for the Marvels, it is the shortest MCU film that we have, at an hour and 45 minutes. Crazy, I think, even though that's honestly a decent runtime for a movie and everything. But this film had a lot of things going down, and the post-production is also the lowest rating MCU film that we have out there. There's a lot of things that Nia DaCosta was going to do for this film, and a lot of her like ideas for the film did make it in, but there's also a lot of parts of the film where it's definitely a studio takeover, and you can see it pretty much in the film. You can see it. It's during a lot of the parts where they're just jumping around from scene to scene a lot, where it's just they're not in a location for too long. Like a lot of the plans with the scrolls, for one like example, that was supposed to be more expanded on and connect back to Secret Invasion and everything because of just that connection. But none of that ever made into the Marvels at all. Just slowly other things. I think a lot of it maybe had to deal with just how they're bringing in MCU characters from the TV shows, Miss Marvel and Monica Rambeau from WandaVision. But Nia DaCosta, she had a lot of plans for those characters and their arcs, but they got dropped a bit too. And even the family, like the Khan family, they had way more to the film, if I'm not mistaken. But that a lot of it got cut too. But ever since the Marvels came out from Marvel, people have been like, that is the film on Nia DaCosta's like resume that people look at that film and they're like, oh, you're the one who made that film. The lowest rating Marvel film. Just a film that did well. It's received well, like online, like on Rotten Tomatoes and everything, but not to a great point in her like compared to all the other films, But that film, people have stated like that's her worst film, even though like she didn't even get to really work on her film completely.
I think she had a lot of bad negative stuff before the film even came out because of certain things that happened. One thing that I remember was hearing that she broke down, upset, crying, and everything during the time of production and stuff. Which I was like, it could have been a number of different things that could have happened with the film and why she was frustrated and everything. She had to talk to, I forgot his name, the dude who directs Thor.
Taika Waititi.
Yeah, she had to talk to him and try to get advice and everything from him because of how upset and stuff she had gotten. And it's like, yeah, when it comes to production companies and stuff, how much they put on you and what they do and how much pressure everything is on you, especially when you haven't had that much pressure and everything before, especially with a big film. I think that like directors should get leeway for that. And
Yeah.
This is not totally her fault when it comes to everything because she didn't get to see the vision that she was wanting to see. And so that does upset a lot of people. It's understandable.
Yeah.
It's like I was like the crash out to me is understandable. Very much understandable because it's like what do you do, especially as a creator, an artist, if you're not able to create and make your art the way you want to make it? It's always soul crushing.
Especially with her being like such a fresher director, like she is still a newer director in just the film industry, and to be hired by Marvel Studios and have like the Marvels be like your second or third film in your like registry of things you've directed, that would make anyone excited. But like But then, you know, that studio takeover comes in and you're pretty much kicked out of your own project, but they still want to blame you for whatever happens to the film
Mm-hmm.
because of them now taking over. They keep your name connected to it just in case something happens. And that's also one thing that happened to Zack Snyder when it came to Justice League. You know, Josh Whedon came in and took over that film, but Zack Snyder is credited as the director. Josh Whedon is not even anywhere in the billing, but he's the one the Justice League. That's why Zack Snyder made his own Justice League.
Always interesting when that happens. And it's like, you know, everyone takes it out on everyone. They especially with how social media and stuff is, everyone's so willing to attack more than they are to listen and try to figure out, okay, what is going on, what is happening. Do you give these people leeway and stuff like that? You know, no one is really just trying to understand, and they're just ready to blame. And that's how
Yep.
social media has been. And it's tough for a lot of the directors and stuff, especially with social media, because before they didn't have that. If they mess up or if they had some bad films, it wasn't like a full on attack on them.
Yeah.
And so they went on and just went on to the next thing. So it's easier for them. Now it's like it's so much pressure and so many people are saying certain stuff about you, and it makes them kind of crash out a little bit as well on social media. I've seen a couple of directors do that where they talk about it's a good film, just watch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like
Which pretty much that sounds like what's Francis Ford Coppola last year. He made Megalopolis, which is a film that was his dream project movie. I went and saw that film. I kind of like it, but I'm still like, what did I watch? Like, I don't hate it because I'm a person who just likes just the weird type of movies that just no one understands. So it just fits into my type of genre of just weird. So, but that film, he's the guy who made The Godfather. Like, I'm pretty sure he made all three Godfathers, if not just, you know, part one. But he's a guy who's very well known for his films. But, you know, Megalopolis comes out last year, and this guy is like in his late 80s, early 90s now. Like, he could probably care less about what people think of him as a director now. But Megalopolis comes out, and they're like, oh, yeah, he's a crap director. This is the worst thing he's ever done.
It's sad when that happens, especially when it comes to people who's supposed to have like legendary status, especially with the type of films that they made. But yeah, it makes me scared for directors and stuff for the future. If they have a bad film, how are people going to perceive it? Like if Jordan Peele's next movie doesn't, you know, garner the same attention or isn't as good as Nope or isn't as good as Us or you know all his other films, does that make him a bad director now? He shouldn't be doing any more movies because this next film doesn't do well.
And I would say Jordan Peele, of all people, like Get Out is a film that is well received. But when Us and Nope came out, like still to this day, as we're recording, those films are still so divisive among people and how they view Jordan Peele. But when it comes still to Get Out, the one film, his first film, no matter what, that film will always make it in people's eyes. They'll see him as a good director, even when they think of Us and Nope.
Which I think was funny. There was a coworker of mine that tried to call Jordan Peele racist. Which I had to try to explain to him how certain things work, because he was trying to attack him for movies that he didn't even direct.
Okay.
They were just under his production company because you know he has the production company.
Yeah,
he does other films and stuff for, and he was like, oh, they, you know, for some reason it's always about race with the movies and stuff he created. And he named like Candyman and all this other stuff, and it's like, you know, he didn't direct those, right?
Right. I say that's the one that Nia DaCosta made, and people like that one, from what I heard. You know, if I'm not mistaken, Candyman is the reason why she got hired by Marvel. in the first place. But yeah, Marvel did their thing.
How it's how it is sometimes, but it's always strange that how people try to attach certain directors to or certain people to certain movies, and then they try to label them a certain way
Yep.
because one, their name is all on the credits, kind of like uh, Ryan Coogler. People
Yeah.
try to be like, oh, if this does bad, like Ironheart, it's Ryan Coogler's fault because his name is plastered all over it. I was like, well, he didn't direct it. He was there
Right.
helping. He, it's it's sad that that sometimes also happens to where people start then attaching you to a bad person and stuff like that because while your name is being plastered on the film for
Yeah.
to push it and you didn't even like direct it. I had to try to explain to him executive producers and stuff like that, producer. I had to explain to him exactly how those dynamics work, especially executive
Yeah.
producers. I was like, executive producers don't have any control over the movie and how the movie's made. Oh, yes, they do. They don't. They fund, they help put in money, they help doing all this other stuff, but they do not make decisions. That's why you see long lists of executive producers on the credits. Try to explain to it. It's like, yeah, it's tough when you have those certain people who don't necessarily understand those dynamics of filming and how filmmaking and stuff is, and they just see names and stuff and they go, "Oh, I'm gonna attack them for this film and how this film was made." And it's definitely wild. I think social media is definitely a part of a big issue when it comes to that aspect of you know how we see and how we view certain filmmakers and stuff because of movies that come out, which again we don't know exactly what is happening behind the scenes, but we're quick to blame. Like with Blade, again we don't know exactly what is happening behind the sces with Blade, but
Nia
we
Goth better
just
be still a part of it. That's all I hope.
but
That's all I hope.
it's like
If she's not part of the project, just get rid of the film. I want to see Mia Goth as a Marvel villain because that's what she was casted for. Was a Marvel villain, some sort of villain to go against Mahershala Ali. And I need to know because that film, like at this point, I think Ryan Coogler, a guy who I don't think has anything bad on his directory, and
so
for a
far.
film that is already being called bad for not even for a film that is already being called terrible for not even existing yet, like I think it needs to be saved by someone who is deemed a good director. So it's not going to be helmed by someone who has like this type of backlash already on them.
Especially since he is someone who pays attention to Marvel comic books and actually understands the stories and stuff that's in the comic books and really
Exactly.
could, I feel like, figure out and choose what will work best. But the thing is, he would still, and I think they give Brian Coogler enough leeway to where he doesn't really have to connect a lot of things to everything else in Marvel himself. That he gets to do and hone into the story the way he wants to. That's one good thing I do kind of notice when it comes to everything. But I feel like they really want to connect Blade a certain way. I feel like the studio will have more hands on to how Blade is going to be done than what they're willing to let Ryan Coogler do with the character and the stories that he will want to tell and stuff like that. So that one to me will be a very tough one to say because I feel like they have a vision of where they want to go with Blade. It's just I think that's the reason why it hasn't been panning out because of what they're wanting to go, where they wanted to go as far as just the universe and everything. And everyone wants to probably do their own thing in story. So that's why I was like, they're blaming certain people for certain stuff for that film. When I was like, well, we don't know exactly what is happening,
Yeah.
and we don't know exactly what the issues and stuff are, especially with where they want to go. It's the writing has been done over and over and over again. Why is that? Probably
Yeah.
studio wanting to change certain aspects to fit portions of what's happening with Avengers and all the other stuff, or Midnight Suns. So it's a lot of stuff to go into it. And I feel like before even the movie comes out, we still are taking blame or blaming certain people for certain stuff. Luckily, Mahershala Ali didn't leave.
He
Yeah, but
interviewed and questioned, but he doesn't have the answers. Like I think it was during Jurassic World Rebirth, like interviews around the world when they're on their press tour, because Scarlett Johansson is a part of that movie with him, and she's also a part of another well-known universe, the MCU. Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow, and he keeps on getting asked all these Marvel questions, and he keeps on having to pass over to her and all this because she'll have the actual answers for you. The only answers he can really give about Marvel is his time during Luke Cage, but no one remembers that
at all. Which I don't even know if they're going to tie Luke Cage into anything, but
I hear he could appear in season 2 of Daredevil.
Oh, that'd be awesome. If they bring everybody back, Iron Fist and everything. I know everybody hates Iron Fist, but
Iron Fist is for sure coming back because Eyes of Wakanda, another thing that Ryan Coogler produced, like that didn't get that much marketing like Ironheart, but being well received and everything. Iron Fist has been appearing all over the place. We had his own show, Defenders, and then Netflix and whatever, they didn't know what they were doing until they recanonized everything like a couple of years ago. Everything's now canon again. But now in recent years, out of any of the Defender characters, besides Daredevil, getting a whole bunch of comebacks now in the last couple of years since, I think, No Way Home, pretty much. Iron Fist, not like the modern Iron Fist, but his previous, I don't know what they are, his previous successors or whatever, have been appearing in recent Marvel content, mainly the animation. What If Season 3 shown a version of Iron Fist, and Eyes of Wakanda shows a new Iron Fist.
Yeah, so wrap this discussion up and everything. Is there a director that you are most fearful of because of like backlashes and stuff that has been happening as far as social media and stuff? The director you've heard of that's been out there that you think doesn't deserve a lot of the hate that they've been getting, or you think they're going to get more hate?
There is a director I think who does deserve hate.
Oh, who is that?
Taika Waititi.
Let's hear the reasons why.
I don't know. This is a guy who got hired in 2016 for Marvel, way back before, because Ragnarok came out in 2017, but he was doing stuff way back in 2016, getting things ready, and then because he also around Doctor Strange, around that time, they were using Doctor Strange and his sets for Ragnarok for the few scenes that they did use. But this is guy after that, got praised by Marvel and came back. But like a year or two after Love and Thunder, he comes out in an interview saying the most petty stuff on why he tanked a film with his name on it and everything, just for a paycheck, just so his family won't go homeless or just won't starve. I'm like, bro, how are they going to? Like, this guy is just a very selfish director, I think. I think he's better when he's acting, not a whole lot, but as a director, like, he makes some very selfish choices that it's just selfish. He's just a selfish director, and he deserves the hate that he gets. But a director that I don't think deserves hate, one of them, first of all, Nia DaCosta, does not deserve any of the hate. She's a lady who does not deserve it. And with The Bone Temple coming out for 28 years later, hopefully people enjoy the new story she's going to bring people for the 28 franchise. After especially this big old film that just came out this summer that did well. But another director, I guess one person I can think of is Ridley Scott, honestly. guy, this is going to be pretty much about the him working on the Alien movies, but he's a guy who has a well-known film registry that people like. He can make a film from almost any genre, and people pretty much they like his films. They like what he makes. But when it comes to him wanting to continue on to something he created, Alien, people started helming him as a terrible director, terrible storyteller.
Mm.
He did, if you don't know, anyone out there listening, watching, Ridley Scott created the 1979 film Alien. And in a couple of days from now, Alien Earth is coming out, and it's going to be something, well, everyone's looking for that. But ever since then, he's been just the godfather of that franchise. Like, he has always been, the guy who's overlooked the whole franchise in a way. And the original 4 films ended in 97, and then we had AVP films, the mid 2000s around there, but that didn't really do anything for Alien or Predator franchises at all. They just kind of, it's their own thing. But then, in 2012, Ridley Scott decides to come back with a film called Prometheus. Everyone loved that film. Some divisiveness because it's still, people were expecting more alien stuff, not a whole original story. But over time, he's been acclaimed for that film. Very acclaimed film. But then he decides to continue on to it. This is a franchise that he started out with, didn't make the original sequels, but would come back to make these prequels. But he only got to make 2. When he got to make Alien Covenant, this was a film where he got so much online hate to where he had to change his whole story on what Covenant was supposed to be about, just to appease people. Like, that's where some of that little backlash comes from. Prometheus is a film that people helm well, but they also shit on him as a director for not doing certain things. They hated him for not bringing in xenomorphs into that film, even though this is a story leading into these creatures that are fearful in this galaxy. And he comes out with Covenant. He's able to keep some stuff that he wants. There's a little studio takeover within the film, but it's still his film in a way. But not because Ridley Scott had to write a film to just appease people and the studio.
Yeah,
and he gets so much hate for those films now. And, Romulus came out and people are loving that. But when it comes to Alien Covenant, people are like, could pass on that one nowadays. It's like, that's not a bad film either. I think I love that film. It's one of my top 3 Alien films right there.
Mm.
But people, ever since Prometheus and Covenant, they have helmed Ridley Scott a little bit of a bad director. Like, ever since then, there hasn't been too much things he's made. He made Gladiator 2 recently, and that was a 50-50 on if that was going to be good or bad, because people did not want him to create a sequel to a well-loved just film. And it came out and it did well for what it did, and people are helming him well enough again. But to the point, it's like people still go back on Prometheus and Covenant and shit on him.
They do. It's a lot of backlashes when it comes to different movies and stuff in the Alien franchises, especially with what they want to see and stuff. And even if you give the audience what they want, sometimes they can still be upset over certain stuff that doesn't make sense. But yeah, that's a good pick. I didn't think of Ridley Scott, but yeah, that's definitely a good pick. But I would like to make a plea, really quick.
Yeah,
if I can.
If you can, yes, you can, sir.
If I can, James Wan, I would need you to come back to horror. That is my plea. James Wan, come back to horror, because this has been horrible as far as just these movies and stuff.
Yeah. He's been producing a lot. Like, he did The Monkey as a producer, and then I don't know what the hell he's been up to since then. Like, I think he might be producing the new upcoming Conjuring film at most.
Yeah, he produced Megan.
But,
He produced Night
oh
Swim. He
yeah, he's just been
produced.
producing horror movies lately.
He,
Just
he he's been
not
producing,
directing.
not directing. I'm gonna need him to come back. The Conjuring movies haven't been the same without him. He's been producing those, but it hasn't been the same without him directing. Like these movies, The Conjuring. Um, Dang it, I forgot the name of the one with the red door. Uh,
Insidious.
Insidious. Insidious
I
hasn't been
say
the
I
same without him.
was because he wasn't because that wasn't him. I'm
The
going
act
to because I've seen all the other four, but I still haven't seen the fifth one just because it doesn't look good.
because it's the actor who directed the last
Yeah,
Insidious movie, and it's like
the last.
I'm gonna need. And I think he's directing this new one too. I think he's directing the new one
Dang.
too, and
Also,
I'm
I'm
like,
curious. I haven't seen the trailer yet. I'm curious. I've seen the teaser, just not the trailer.
James, why we
YouTube's
need
trying.
you to go back?
Who knows? He might be. Oh, say he's been producing stuff. I think the last thing I remember him directing was probably Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. That was
Mm.
probably the last thing I remember him
Okay,
actually directing.
'cause he has a was it Call of Cthulhu is what is coming up next, but the last horror film he did
Not
was
heard of that.
in 2021, and that was Malignant. And I was like,
Okay, I
I feel like
so
he
good.
stepped away from it because of how bad it did in theaters. And I was like, this was a really interesting and good film, especially for horror, mystery, all that. It's like,
Oh, I love the mystery and the plot twist. I was in for that film. The whole third act, the butcher. I need to buy that movie. I need to see that again. That was just a good film.
I was like, he does horror movies so freaking well. And I was like, I don't want him to step away from the horror genre. And he doesn't really step away. He still produces a lot of horror films. But it's like, I'm gonna need you to get back in that chair. I'm gonna need you to get back in the director's chair.
I'll say there's that because the Saw movies they've been Saw 10 was the last one that came out like maybe last year. I still haven't seen that one, but the Saw movies haven't really been too much the same without him being too much. I don't know if he even produces the latest like last few, like since Jigsaw, Spiral. I don't know if he's even been a part of those. But
I
since
don't
he's not
think.
been like he's a producer on like the original films, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
he was producer on 2, 3. I know for sure. I want to say
He
4
did the
as
first.
well. He directed the first one. Directed the second one. His partner. Uh, he directed the second one. I can't remember if he directed the third one as well, but his partner. But I was like, I can't remember if he directed those. But I know he didn't produce Spiral. I don't know if he produced this last one because that whole Spiral thing was the whole thing that Chris Rock was just doing.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm gonna need him to come back. That is my hope because he to me was like horror. Like he was dropping so many good horror films. But yeah, James Wan to me was like Wes Craven when I was younger. Because I was like, I haven't felt that great about a director who directs horror films as much as I did Wes Craven back in the day. Last House on the Left. Like it's a whole bunch of films that he did that I was like, it's so freaking spectacular. And the A Nightmare on Elm Street isn't as great without Wes Craven. He's directed the best Nightmare on Elm Street movies. And I feel like James Wong is the same case. Without him, some of these, The Conjuring and Insidious and Saw, it doesn't do as well without him. And it's like I really want you to come back. That's why I plea for a director that that stepped away. That I wish would come back. He's one.
Right. I mean, it would do a studio's benefits, like, but it's also then like, do we put money into this film or do we pay this director to be in this for this film? And
Mhm.
James Wan now is just a guy that just He costs money now.
Oh yeah, especially since he wants to do like bigger films about it. It's like I understand it. Aquaman, big film, the Fast and Furious, big films, block, but understandable. You want to do something different, stuff. But come back. We need you. But we got a whole bunch of new horror directors that have been doing well. So it's not
Oh
like
yeah,
a big
surprise.
missing hole, but he's definitely someone that I have respected as a director. Seeing the amounts of movies, the crazy movies and stuff that I have from him that are not, I guess, rated the highest, but did spectacular with films as far as just cult followings. And he's definitely just has some awesome films under his belt, in my opinion. But yeah. So to wrap things up and everything, Phantaki, what have you been doing? What's some things you've been watching as far as geek culture, fandom geek culture and stuff?
Right. Well, ever since episode 1, we filmed that. I binged all of King of the Hill season 14. That was very surprising. First half of the season is very shocking. Like, there's a lot of just shocking, just developments in their characters. But the second half of the season goes back to how just normal King of the Hill feels, honestly. But overall, I have very much fun coming back to Hank Hill as a character. Just, I'll tell you what, like this show, god dang good. But movie wise, Weapons, I saw that was something in theaters for sure. I saw, and then don't think I saw anything else. I think it was just Weapons. I plan on seeing Together this upcoming week, hopefully.
Sweet. Well, I've done the same. I watched a lot of episodes of King of the Hill.
Nice.
It's been interesting. Dale is still ridiculous. What was the scene when he was thinking that Hank was a spy or something when
You
he was playing soccer or coaching soccer? I was like, this, bro, damn. What did you get your stuff
That
together?
was an episode. I'll say a lot of that first half of that season was very shocking stuff with just developments on just stuff. First of all, just where they went to live for over 10, like who knows how long. That's shocking where they decided to go,
Was it Saudi
of all
Arabia?
places.
Saudi Arabia.
The way Peggy says it every time. Uh, but yeah, very good show. I think right now I'm on season 2 again on my rewatch because I own all the previous 13 seasons on DVD, so I'm just going back rewatching. Just
Awesome.
It's always a good show to watch. It's just always a feel good just to have on when I don't know what to watch at night, when I don't want to watch even like a movie.
And,
yeah, fun fact though, the police captain in Weapons is the voice of Khan and now Dale.
wait, what?
Right, I was very surprised because like at the end of the movie of Weapons when they actually credited him in the billing, I was like, oh, that's our King of the Hill man. That's our man from King of the Hill. That's our voice actor.
Yeah, I've been watching that. I haven't finished it though, but I've been watching King of the Hill. I've watched
It's
World
definitely good.
Worlds.
Oh, the Ice Cube one.
Yeah, I would say I understand why people are upset about it. I really do. It's just about how bad it supposedly is. I would say I wasn't a big fan of Ice Cube's acting in it.
Okay.
Uh, I felt like I was like, I you could have gotten a regular Joe Schmo to play that role. I think they would have had more emotion towards it. That would have made it a lot better. I feel like the emotion
Right.
and everything wasn't really there or felt because they're looking at everything through a screen. Mostly of the
Yeah.
action and stuff that's happening, and it's like there's no real connection. And I felt like was there, and I think that's what was really missing with that film was a real good connection between the actors.
Mm.
Besides the stories. how the story was. Definitely changed up a lot when it came to what I was thinking the War of the Worlds was supposed to be. But I was like, I
Yeah.
guess.
I think it's seventh film or seventh adaptation of
Mhm.
the story of War of the Worlds, and this one is just crazy because it's been on like the memes of it being at 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, and then I think now yesterday it's like it's at 4% now. It rose, but I'm very surprised with that film. Just for a film that also has like an A-list cast in it. First of all, has of course Ice Cube and then Eva Longoria and then Clark Gregg, who played Phil Coulson from Marvel, and then who else? There's like another name in there I recognize. I was like, this has a cast for a film that is doing very terrible.
Mm-hmm. Animes I've watched, still watching Love After World Domination, and I've been watching
Okay.
Quintuplets thing on Netflix.
Okay. I think I remember. You just started that one, or?
I've been watching it. I'm on the second season.
So I remember, I think it was maybe one of your reactions was you were comparing, I think, the quintuplets to some like new romance anime coming out.
Probably so, because
Like,
I was
like
definitely using
multiple
that as a reference.
or something. Like I think it's a boy that moves into a house or something.
Yeah. It's another one that moves into the house, deals with a whole bunch of the girls inside the house. Is kind of what in Quintuplets to do. He doesn't move into the house, but he deals with all the sisters and stuff. It's like, yeah. But yeah, hopefully we get to experience better stuff when it comes to movies. I feel like World of Worlds kind of set me down a bit, but still got a lot of stuff to go when it comes to listening stuff. We'll definitely see when we make our next video next week.
Right.
Talk again about what we've seen or what we're watching, what's happening,
Right.
everything.
We'll figure out which topic we're going to go on officially.
But yes, please everyone, do leave comments and everything. Tell us how we're doing, what y'all think about the channel, subject matters and stuff we're doing. If there's a subject matter you want us to discuss, if you like how we go back and forth talking everything, just let us know what y'all are thinking and how y'all feel. We thank y'all for giving our channel a try. Check us out on Spotify if you don't have time to watch the videos. On Spotify, you can listen to it and everything. So thank y'all so much for giving us a try, and hopefully we grow and grow more on the Fandom Geek Culture channel and the podcast and everything works out really well because we want to do a lot more stuff with y'all with discussions and stuff. So yeah.
Alrighty, well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Like Chipmunk well, thank you everyone for tuning in, of course, and tune in for next week's episode and take care.
See you.